Hey, this is just for children, some basic logic stuff. I wrote this down. And then it was immediately came to mind when I was a spirit of fire chaser with water of how a fire hydrant works. So you can walk up to a fire hydrant, this is for children, and you realize that you know what static pressure is, right? And then there's residual pressure, right? How that works between planes. Yeah. Take a look at the Snake River, right? Yeah, so, and here I'll insert a couple of little cryptic remarks when it comes to static, electrical power, water under pressure, PSI, pressure sensitive information, right? Pounds per square inch. Well, it's a lot of pressure, right? Yeah, you get way down in the ocean when it comes to water. Barometers, barcodes, barometers, and why, for example, when an engineer who is an engineer running a wildland fire, right? Not running, I'm running the wildland fire. In a way, you are. But some of the calculus that we had to do when I was an engineer, right? Operating a fire engine on a wildland fire. So if you're going to lay out, say, 4,000 feet of fire hose, it's inch and a half. Inch and a half isn't the only hose that we use, but the hose that we used was inch and a half, right? The inside diameter, and it was cotton jacketed, and it was cotton hose, because cotton breathes, breathing electromagnetic energy, right? Breathing electromagnetic energy, the spectrum. Right? It's breathing. It's breathing. That water is breathing. Okay? But this is the genius about water and pressure, is that we used to use 1-inch line of cotton jacketed hose, and then we had 3/4-inch line, or you can use a 1-inch, what's known as a hard jacket, which means it's got a steel jacket on the inside. Whoa, steel lining on the inside. And then a hard rubber on the outside that was chemical resistant. So in other words, you could drag it through some pretty bad stuff and it wouldn't, burn off or cause, in other words, you wouldn't lose your pressure and the water volume that you're wanting out of that hose. But the problem is what you gain in pressure, you lose in volume of sound and light. Gain of function on a radio set. And so you can see, for example, we had to do the calculations on the fly at the pump, pressure going up, altitude density, right? And choosing the particular pump setting per pressure, right? In order to get what was considered to be a standard, which was 5, at the end of the nozzle. And the standard nozzle pressure on an 1.5-inch line, to use the application of a program interface using your consciousness, you're applying your consciousness, which is imprinted into the software. So you're running the software, and now you're running a hose. And that nozzle is on the end of that hose, the standard requirement under the NFPA manual, which is another rule-based function. Remember, this has all been programmed in memory on how to do all these modalities, right? You're running a program as a firefighter, okay? Highly trained units of energy, right, are carrying out the rule-based functions. And most of those functions on how to do that is in the NFPA manual, which is the National Fire Protection Association. And it's all coded, much like you see the Uniform Commercial Code. When the United States of America decided to go from being, a republic, go take a look at the origin, which is the original language of what republic form form and flow of consciousness energy. The Republic form, you can find this if you go look for it. It was matrilineal, matriarch. Did you know that? Mama. Remember the Iroquois Confederation? Law of peace. And they do have in their military hierarchy what's known as Title 26, which is 8. Title 26, which is known as the Uniform Code of Military Justice, known as the Law of Peace. Yep. And here's another little tidbit for the day. No coincidence that, out of all the information that you can process and be aware of at any one given moment, being in the moment, being present in the moment, experiencing what love is to your own heart and soul. Slow down, experience the still point, be calm. I'm calm. The still point had to do with the Republic form that was matriarchal, but it also had to do with, now I forgot. Oh, well, can I recover that fragment? That lost wave, that lost plasma wave. I'm just having fun, but it had to do with not just Rattletrap 776 and how the job that he was able to put together a lot of the executive orders and all that, but now it just came back. See how I reminded myself? When Obama was president, I remember when he was president that there was some information that came out that in the first time in the history of the United States, remember, it went from a republic form to a corporate form. Now, you know what a form is, like filling out an application for a job, right? Filling out an application for a corporation to go to work for a corporation. So they were bonding slaves, children. Parents were bonding their children into slavery with a birth certificate that now becomes a bond. There was a guy that I met in a homeless shelter in Reno, Nevada that managed to be able to get into his Federal Reserve account with his account number that's on the birth certificate, and he transferred $30,000 and went to Israel using a computer in a library. And this guy served and this guy is ex-military, served in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's what he told me, right? But Obama had apparently had approved for the first time in United States history, and there's another history in this that's associated with it, which would be Nuremberg. If you remember the Nuremberg trials with the Nazis at the end of World War II, that was actually a show trial. You know what a window dress is? That's called pretending. In other words, like the Wizard of Oz. Visible landscape. What's actually going on behind the scenes, you don't know. So they window dress, right? So in other words, what you see on the front's like a mirage. It's not real. It's a simulation. So it's running. The background. A Truman Show movie set. And but Obama it was announced that Obama had accepted the Geneva Conventions and the Nuremberg Doctrine, which meant for the first time that the United States, now you can get into which United States are we talking about here. Are we talking about the original form? Are we talking about the corporate form, which is a fictional form, right? Which is a black star form, which is a death spiral form, because a corporation is a fictional character map. Computers, record-keeping exercises. See, artificial persons, go to Cornell Law School Dictionary, and it defines what an artificial person is. When you come into that courtroom, like right down here in Hilo, 777, you think that's a coincidence? Right? Which is what, 21? Which is 3. Right? 3 waves, mama's 3 wave spirals, right? 3 spheres logos, not binary, trinary. They wear the black robes to indicate we are a death spiral, right? And so you see how it's actually a bank. They're operating on behalf of a bank, an operating system operating on behalf of another operating system. that they're held captive to in memory, running the program, which are all the rule-based functions. Right? So they realize that they're not going to get cut any electrons if they're not carrying out their rule-based functions to perform. Oh, performa. Now we're into forma. Yeah, forma. All their terminology that they use got to follow the little bouncing ball and how they use letters and numbers to hold energy captive. Just like error codes, just like trouble codes, just like I wrote here. See, I'm a Manu era. And then you go, oh, era. So if I was from the South, I had a bit of an accent. You know, like, how y'all doing? And I said, era. Oh, that sounds like era. So the sound and the frequency. But we all know what an error code is. If you pull your vehicle into AutoZone, for example, or O'Reilly Auto Parts or any auto parts place, and you're getting an idiot light that comes on to let you know something's wrong with the codes, something's wrong with the wiring, right? Something's going on with the computer. It's letting you know, hey, you got to do something about this. Otherwise, what it is that you're running isn't going to operate correctly. So you have somebody do a diagnostic, right? Just like doing a diagnostic on a cyborg. Now you're back to Tom Cruise, right? Plug it in and see where